Welcome everybody to the work session meeting of the Mayor and Council for Tuesday, October 17, 2017. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law. The schedule, including date and time of this meeting. I would like to remind all members of the public we have 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 1 on each side of the dais and 1 in the rear. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Gray is absent. Councilman Barloni.
Here.
Councilwoman Steve is absent. Councilman Pico.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Here. And Councilman Cavalera is also absent, and Mayor Munoz.
Here. Let's everybody just rise for a moment of silence and Mrs. White, will you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're gonna hold the closed session until later in the agenda. Under mayor appointment, I want to put on the record that I am appointing John Cookson to the River Edge Historic Preservation Commission to fill the unexpired term of Joan Christen, alternate 1, through December 31st, 19. Mr. Cookson.
I, John Cookson, do solemnly swear.
I, John Cookson, do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
And that I will bear
and that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same
And to the government established
and to the government established
in the United States.
in the United States
And in this state.
and in this state
Under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, John Cookson, do solemnly swear.
I, John Cookson, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
as an alternate
as an alternate
in the Historic Preservation Commission
in the Historic Preservation Commission
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. I have to say that John's path here was a little circuitous, to say the least, and he probably can speak more about what he's done on behalf of the commission than I'm aware of. But I know he's been working with the commission. John, you're a senior at junior at Riverdale. And he's been working with the commission on various projects. And when there was a vacancy a few months ago, I was approached by several of the members and they said, oh, we want to appoint John. And the issue became, can we appoint a minor? Not over 18, so I had to get the interpretation of our borough attorney. Our ordinance does not require, there's no age limit. And once we got that hurdle cleared, you know, it's more than my pleasure to appoint you. Like I told you in the email, you come very highly regarded from some very well-regarded people in this town. So we know you're going to do a great job. Oh, I see Mrs. Angelo, the chair of the commission's here. She was one of your stronger supporters also. So congratulations. We wish you the best. We know you do a great job for us at the commission.
Congratulations.
I do have the oath of office. You have to sign it and give it to Stephanie, but there's...
You can come up now and sign it. You can pass it over.
I hand corrected a typo. Definitely. And thank you, Mr. Cookson. We know you do a lot for the community as well, and we appreciate everything you do also, so, appreciate it. One other appointment of personnel change. I'd like a motion to approve the appointment of Sean Kucharski to the River Edge Library Board of Trustees to complete the unexpired term of Anna Axiom-Makaris through 12/31/20.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Kucharski couldn't be here this evening, but we will get him the oath. Borough Administrative topic, Alan.
First item, I guess, is the Citizens Budget Committee meeting schedule and advertising, Mayor, if I may. First, I'd just like the council to know that we're ready to send out our letter inviting Citizens Budget Committee. We can extend the invitation to those that participated last year. If there are any additions, please let me know so that we can do that. Is that acceptable to the Mayor and Council?
Yes.
It is.
I think Councilman Bastide has somebody she wants to recommend, so she'll have to just give you the name.
Just give me the name and we'll send out the letter and see those are interested. Okay, we'll
Did any notice go anywhere about that? I just remember somebody coming before us saying that they didn't know how anything was on there, I know
Certainly
it
can,
was just a big
but
to-do.
again, we would have to, I think, first determine what would be a workable number. I'm
But
not
once
opposed to
once
having more
they pick,
people.
No, we don't want more people, but once it's picked, does it get published anywhere? That
Well,
person was
well, it's
saying
in the-
that they
it's-
didn't know anything about it.
Well,
I know. It's gonna kill me.
Mayor, we actually have a budget manual that describes the number of citizens. Subject to looking it up, I think it is something like 7 to 9 or something like that. So we do have that, and while we don't advertise the availability of the citizens, it's generally based on those that are interested come forward or make a
Good.
contact,
And I think the mayor
and then
brought
that
that
name
up,
is
too.
brought forward. But one of the issues I did want to talk to you about is if we can come up with a schedule, we could put that up on our website, because these meetings are subject to the Open Public Meetings Act. The door is open, the public is invited to come and sit and listen,
Perfect.
not participate, but they can certainly come and listen, and I'm sure at certain points the mayor would open it up to the general public for comment. But that means that we would have to have some sort of a meeting schedule. Last year, we met starting with January 14th. We went the 21st, the 28th, and then February 6th and February 18th. And we did that on a timely basis, meeting the statutory requirement for introduction of our budget. If that's a schedule that you'd like to see, or something similar to that, we could line up the same dates for 2018, and then put that out there on the website and do our advertising.
I would put all the dates, like we said, we can always cancel meetings if we need
You
to.
can always cancel and add
And,
if this
you
is
know,
something you want to.
And probably, I'd like to have a couple more at work sessions already, so it gives more people the opportunity to come.
Okay, so then we'll go with the same meeting schedule, and then I will advertise it in a couple of locations now, as we finish this year, so that it's out there, and anybody who would like to come and at least listen to the presentations and the discussion will be available. All right, that's all I have tonight on this topic, Mayor. Thank you for the guidance.
two topics up for discussion. First one, crosswalk Kindercrack Road in Wayne. Councilman Bartoloni asked us to be on.
Thank you, Mayor. This was a subject that was brought before the Traffic and Safety Committee. I know this idea has been around for quite some time. The issue was whether or not the sidewalk along Kindercrack should be in place prior to any type of crosswalk being installed, or could the crosswalk be put in without the sidewalk? And we had a brief conversation at our last meeting regarding this. I think, Mayor, you said you wanted to see at least a pad of some kind placed on the Kindercrack side.
I think in the best condition, we should have, you'd have to have a ramp on that east side, but you would also have to have a firm means of passage up to the bus stop at 70 feet. The existing handicap ramp at the northwest corner is not compliant with new standards. It would have to be replaced. So, my guess, 15 to 20,000 to do all of it.
Okay. So that may
it's
be
doable,
something
you know.
for next budget.
Or if there's money left over on something else. If it's a small project, so we'll probably pay a premium, a little bit of a premium to get a contractor in, but I think, if we're doing it, we should just do it well, because I said there's a bus stop there, and,
Yeah.
Last thing we want is people getting slipping in mud or whatever, or slush. So that would be my suggestion. We can always ask Mr. Costa to cost it out also.
Well, maybe we could do that, and then at least we'll have an idea,
Yeah.
and so we can go forward and at least look and see if there's money left over from this year's budget, or that it has to be some sort of capital project for next year. So I'd make that motion that we have Mr. Costa investigate the cost.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Mr. Costa will look at that.
After we get a contract.
Yes. Well, Committee, things like this, these are the kind of things I believe should get a retainer. It's not a formal project. It's something that's, it's a couple hours worth of work, and have somebody go out and measure it and put an estimate together.
Yeah, the borough attorney and I will be looking at the retainer contract this year, so that first investigations, exclusive of any field work, would be under the retainer. But then once, the engineering design and field work is necessary, maybe that would become the additional
Yeah, I think
contract.
that's perfectly reasonable, and if there's a case where he's required to do survey or something, obviously he would be
Right.
entitled to more, but, to get these little things out, I think that should be included. We have two items on our work session consent agenda, both, one's amend agreement with Alan Spinello, tax appeal attorney. Is that an additional 4,000?
Yes, additional,
And
to get us through the rest of the
amend the agreement with Matt Jacoby, our labor attorney, an amount not to exceed 6,000. The motion to put this on for regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, did we miss the second item for discussion?
Oh, I did. Riverdale intern for Recreation Department.
Mayor, if I may, I put Bobby Conway's recommendation and request before you. Riverdale has a program for interns, and the Rec Commission and the Recreation Director would like to accommodate this intern. I have no problem with this. I just felt we should memorialize it formally as we do with other volunteers. So a motion, second, and a vote, and then we could send notice that we're willing to participate.
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor's report. I'll just briefly report on two events that I attended. I attended the grand opening of the new Michael Sarah Salon. It's in the Crest Plaza. A woman who had worked for another salon, she's coming on her own. Very nice people, very inviting, very warm, and hopefully they'll have a successful business here. And last night, I was invited to ceremony that was held by Joe Magiri and the VFW.
Oh, I see.
He announced that the VFW is officially closing down. They're in that process of decommissioning or whatever, what the process is, and they were giving out a lot of generous donations to various groups, and I can't remember them all, but it was the ambulance, our fire department, Friends of the Library, the Boy Scouts, and they were spreading around to everybody, and it was good. Joe also said that he's also going to be officially retiring as a crossing guard in January,
Wow.
and he said he'll be 95, so I think he deserves it. And I guess,
May I have a question on the decommissioning of the VFW? We have a small stipend in our budget that we normally pay over, but if they are decommissioning, then perhaps a resolution would be in order to relieve the borough of the financial obligation of trying to keep paying them. So I'll draft a resolution for the next meeting to that
yes, because
effect.
they're shuttering it up, so they're disbanding, that was the way they
Thank you.
put it. And he wanted to remind everybody, Joe did, that we're having our traditional Veterans Day ceremony, I believe on Friday the 10th. The intent is to have it outside in the park, because the school kids can come over. If the weather is inclement, we'll have a ceremony at Roosevelt and a ceremony at Cherry Hill like we did last year. He thinks that it's going to be 11 o'clock, but he wasn't exactly sure of the time. Unfinished business. Our River Edge Senior Community Center. Any topics for discussion? Or I'll just say that I know that Alan and the Finance Committee have been working very diligently to try to piece together enough funding so that we can get this project to a design level and move it forward. I believe we're probably almost at a point, once we know that's happening, where we would start meeting with some of the individual groups to give them an overview of the project. Here's some suggestions, but it's mostly to get some feedback on their individual use. Once we do that, we'll have some more public presentations, and hopefully be in a position to authorize the architect to go to full design drawings and go out to bid, and hopefully build this. So that's where that stands. It is moving. We're all hoping to get this thing significantly forward in the next calendar year.
I think there's only one more council person to meet with, and then I'll speak with the liaisons for the various constituent groups and see how they want to go about.
Because if they want to get, the architect to come up and do a little presentation, we can do that, or if they want to meet formally,
Yeah.
whoever. So, Shade Tree Commission. It's fortuitous this is on the agenda. I got an email the other day from a resident, and the first question he was expressing some concerns and frustrations that it took what he thought was an inordinate amount of time to process his building permit. He's doing an addition on his house. He was going into week 7. But then he also mentioned there was other issues with trees that he has to meet with me. So I did meet with him and his wife earlier this evening. And I explained about the building permits. I checked with Nicole. The permit has been issued. And, under the UCC, they're allowed 20 calendar days to process a permit. And if there's any change, that can delay it. So, it's probably going to take 4 weeks regularly. They didn't really, when they heard it that way, I don't think they figured the 2 weeks was that much out of line with what was happening. But now, they get their building permit and they go pick it up, thinking they're going to be now going to project. Now they're told they need a tree permit. And with the tree permit, they need to post a bond. And here's a picture of the tree. I've been asking people to let's play prices right.
Oh.
Look at it. I showed Gary already. They want $3,500 bond. to hold for up to 3 years. I explained that we really have no jurisdiction over the Shade Tree Commission. He is going to make an appeal to them, I guess at their meeting Thursday. Again, this is a perfect case where I think the tree could adequately be protected without, you know, subjecting it to damage or construction vehicles, but the ordinance obviously doesn't speak to that. The other vagaries of the ordinance regarding what constitutes proper protection, all these other things that we've been talking about are come up again. Is there really an objective process to assess whether you should get your bond back, so all these different issues. So I think it is time that we revisit at least that ordinance. So, you know, I don't know how we want to do it, if we want to give it to a subcommittee, or, you know, Councilman Papalev had mentioned several times that he was going to maybe discuss some of these items with him. Maybe we'll wait till he comes back and ask him what he wants to do. So if he wants a subcommittee, or wants it all to come in, we'll do it, whatever he thinks is best. But it is something I think we need to go forward with. Does anybody else have any other unfinished business topics? New business?
I think Councilman Aquafredo alluded to this at the last meeting regarding possible future of the rec department and hiring of a new rec director. And perhaps, you know, we as a council maybe need to look and see if there's some changes maybe that may be in order or needed as we go forward. So I think, you know, maybe we need to bring that up and see what kind of direction we want to go in, you know, as we go forward.
Just keep in mind we don't have many meetings left to take action. I guess my feeling is that with Bobby's retirement, I think with the great potential, we're going to have a community center that's going to be programmed and administered, and that was always the intent to have the rec office in that building anyway. Given the magnitude now of the responsibilities, I really believe that the rec should be a standalone department. Not necessarily under the direction of a board of commissioners, but have an advisory committee. I think that the amount of money we're spending on the community center and everything else, that this mayor and council should be the ones directly held accountable for what's good and what's for bad. And people should be able to come to us if they have questions or concerns, and not be directed to other entities. So that's where I think we should be heading. I would certainly want to keep the people who are on the commission on whatever new committee we formulate. It's not a question about the job they do or anything else. To me, it's a matter of I think that mayor and council should have direct accountability. And one of my frustrations has been is the lack of input that the mayor and council has on certain projects. The fact that we weren't able to participate in selection of professionals when it came to designing field improvements. That we had you know, issues that came up with these projects, we had no recourse to address them because it was under the direct oversight of the commission. You know, we give them a operating budget that they have control over whatever capital budgets we assign to these projects as well. Again, it's not a criticism of them. I just think in terms of a process, it really should be an obligation of mayor and council to address this. And I think the community center makes it that much more important because it'll be expanding. Rec has to expand. I'm thinking it's almost like a rec and cultural affairs kind of group, because the programming of the community centers is not just going to be your traditional rec programs. And I think we've heard it from these ladies, I think we've heard it from SCORE, that the seniors of the town feel that they're not adequately represented in different programs or different activities. It has to be one of the priorities of whenever we start programming a new space and reaching out to other venues, whether it's going to be, classes or however this thing eventually gets programmed. So I think that's the way we should proceed. I think, we should look at having an ordinance, at least for introduction, because we only have 2 public meetings. We have one in November, and I believe we only have one in December, possibly second one. So, we wouldn't be able to do it, and if we don't do anything now, you're looking probably starting the process in February, and February, March, so we're going to lose a good 5 months going forward. And I also think that the mayor council should have some input as to who the new rec director will be.
Do you need a motion to,
Sorry, one more thing.
oh, sorry.
So, no, so we need
I
to,
thought you were taking a.
no, we have some, we should have some input as to who the person is. And again, my feeling is that this is an extremely important position. It's like Bobby was here for 20 years and did a fantastic job. It's going to be hard for anybody to fill the shoes, especially in terms of her knowledge, her enthusiasm, her dedication, day or night, weekends, whatever, holidays, she was always there for us. So it's a process, I think, that really should be thoughtful and deliberative and really think the kind of person who's going to really be potentially here for up to a generation, theoretically. So we need to also come up with a process by which maybe we can either through a shared service or hire a temporary basis somebody local, just to make sure that all the different programs Bobby has running, because now obviously it's November, but she's always talking about planning for the run. She's summer camp, you think it's not even Thanksgiving, but these are things that have to be done. So we certainly want somebody in place to at least keep the machinery moving, and Bobby graciously said she'll contribute as much as she can and how much as we need her. So, and I fully expect we're going to rely heavily on her through whatever transition process we have. So, that being said, that's council.
No, I was wondering what the process is going to be here. Do you need a motion to
If
get?
you want to put a motion on to get an ordinance drafted and put something on for introduction, that's the motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Now's the time.
I think so.
The
Like I said, and
new building, the
Makes sense.
and I know there might be some discomfort or unhappiness from the commission, I expect, but again, it's nothing personal against them. I think they're all doing a fantastic job. We all know all these people personally, so there really is nothing more to it than that.
They
It's a matter of
still be
structure.
on the committee.
Yes, they certainly could be on the committee.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm thinking about the committee, though, is that it should almost be set up, almost the library board, where it has some mandatory members. Like the library board, not necessarily that the mayor's going to be on, but the mayor is a mandatory member of the library board. There's a representative of the schools on the library board. Something like this, we'd probably want to have a representative of the school district, because it's talking about programming for a community center. We'd probably want to have, obviously Dara, the library director, should be a fixed or, statutory member of this committee. Somebody from SCORE, maybe a representative from SCORE. So those are the, I think, you have some base people, and then you can keep the people who are there and do whatever you want, add some more, whatever we think is going to work. But that's been my thinking on it, and we'll see where we can go with it.
Are there other towns that have maybe similar size and something that we can look at what they're doing and model ourselves after a little bit?
I don't know. I would guess that most towns do not have commissions. Council, would you agree with that?
Oradell has a committee. They do not have a commission structure over there.
New Milford just abolished theirs, but they had some legal issues with the former director of some newspaper, so I think it probably had more to do with that. But again, I guess their intent was that the mayor and council felt they wanted more oversight over it also. but I know a lot of towns, go by these committee forms, and, really let the director take the lead, because that's what you want, I think. I've seen models, in cover years, but, technically, all borough departments are under the auspices of the administrator, so it would be good to have, that kind of a structure set up. There's also some that, I saw an ordinance that the administrator can be the interim director of education. Education, the recreation.
We saw that same ordinance.
I'm sure Alec can put together a lot of good programs. But anyway, these are the kind of things I think should be built in. It's a chance to put together something really comprehensive and something that's going to be very, very valuable going forward. Thank you on that. We have one resolution. Oh, any more new business? Oh, I do. I asked Stephanie to hand out 3 proposals I had asked for from Burgess. Burgess Associates are borough planners. They have been assisting us and our co-attorney with navigating our housing plan and meeting with the fair share groups, and we're working with the court-appointed master as they all try to figure out what ultimately, not just our obligation, but every town's obligation in terms of providing affordable units. You may recall that under the first round of COA back in the late 90s, I guess, River Edge's obligation was, I think, 75. And when you think of 75, it's usually on a 10 or 15% set aside. So even if it was 10%, even if it's 5%, you're looking at 300 units to generate those 70. Now, in the first round, we got some credit for St. Peter's and some other issues. The concern is now what's future obligation, and the other thing that's at play is what they're calling this gap period. The period where COA really wasn't doing anything, and then Governor Christie abolished the Commission on Housing. The legislature did not put it in its place, and so there's some argument, well, does the future need back to that, or do they basically just go forward? There was some movement in the legislature to clarify that statutorily. I don't know why they don't do that. There's a question more for our senator and legislators, because to me, just to cover the gap period, because the courts have found that they think that additional units should be included in the gap period. That's not necessarily going to be in all the town's favor. So, that aside, we're going to need to amend their contract. They tell me going into next year related to this housing issue. They estimated that to be about $5,000. Other thing, and I've been talking about it for several years, and it came up again at our land use board earlier in the year. And Mr. Grasso's here too. I think one of the most challenging aspects of a lot of applications, and we can chime in if I'm speaking out of turn, is having to do with signage. How big signs should be, what color should they be, where should they be, what kind of should we have. And our ordinance is written in such a way that most what you consider regular signage and normal signage you see every day requires variances. Because we require, in some situations, very minimal square footage, but if you have a big building, there's no really mechanism to give them permission without having a variance. So, we really do need to get a handle on sign ordinance. I think we need some consistency in signage up and down Kinderkamak. Limit the kind of signage that can go on Route 4. So we had established a subcommittee of the land use board, which we have not done anything yet. But I did ask Mr. Burgess' firm to give us a proposal to work with us to come up with a comprehensive signage ordinance, and that is for $5,000. The last proposal I asked him for comes out of the same kind of thought process. And I've been talking with the planners, the redevelopment attorneys, some of the people who are affiliated with our redevelopment areas, and everybody agrees that our existing redevelopment plans are lacking at best. Excuse me. And we really have no comprehensive way of going forward. Councilman Bartolone's mentioned it, we mentioned it too, about looking at the Kitikimak corridor. You know, are there other areas we should be looking for redevelopment? Because what's happening, and we have an application that's going to be coming to us, is where the Christine Valmy Salon is. They're proposing a office retail building for there, which, no comment on it, because it's going to be a pending application, but what's going to start happening, I think, in that C2 zone is we're going to see spot changes, and we don't want that. So, talking to them about trying to come up with some of these redevelopment planning, they reminded me that eventually we'll have to do a re-examination of our master plan. It used to be required every 5 years, but when the economic crisis hit, they amended the law to give us 10 years. Our 10 years is the beginning of 2019, which may seem like a long way away, but to go through a re-exam it necessarily isn't. So that's what the third proposal basically speaks to. The first part is, again, to work with the land use board. We'll come up with some concepts. Obviously, we're going to get mayor and council input along that process. See where we should target our focus, and then go forward and maybe have them craft some zoning ordinances to support that. And at the same time, they'll be looking at the master plan in the whole, so we can do a valid re-examination re-examination report when 2019 rolls around, and it'll be a good tool for us also. So that's what the third one is. I'm asking Mr. Nattering to work his pencil magic to find all the allocated funds. I'm hoping there's some that we can at least get some of it started, because I don't, again, we always think that the year starts in January, but we all know that, you know, with the budget and everything else, no real business gets going until March, April. And again, I would hate to lose those 3 or 4 or 5 months, particularly if we can award these partially. So I would ask if there's a motion to put these on for consideration at the next meeting, assuming Mr. Negrian cannot certify the funds. If he can't certify the funds, then we can't approve it. So, but at least if we get a motion now, they can be listed, and if we have the table, we can table.
Make that motion to list the 3 proposals for the next meeting.
Second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Mr. Bartolone, could you please read the resolution 17339, payment of bills?
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $311,777.51. Capital account, $7,489.12. Recreation account, $966.40. Animal welfare account, $10.80. Trust other account, $1,697.84. Open space account, $6,061.67. Trust other developers account, $9,862.50. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a motion to open to the public, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any of our 3 members of the public wish to make any comments, ask any questions? Yes, Mrs. Blair.
Maybe like 741 Center Avenue. Regarding the community center, are the drawings, the proposed drawings available for anybody to look at to find out?
No, we've not made them public yet, because we're still getting input from various groups, and we need to confirm that we can have adequate funding to go to construction. That's what I was asking Mr. Bartoloni. We need to figure out a process of how we're going to do our engagement with some of the, what I consider the major stakeholders, rec, the library, cultural center, historic commission.
About November and January, so
Yes.
I was wondering if anybody's gonna be able to see.
Oh, sure, no, there's gonna be, believe me, with a project of this scope, and I think that we have to have several public, at least discussions, or at least have it presented here, so people can see it. It's not something that you could sneak in and then have a building sitting overnight. So everybody will have adequate time to see the plans.
Also, one other question, right here, it's listed under unfinished business as the Borough of River Edge Senior Community Center. And is that what it's definitely going to be called, or is
No,
there going to be a lot of this, I mean, because you're just talking about all the things that are going into it.
I think it's, yes, but I think it's safe to say that obviously we all envision SCORE moving into that facility. It'll save us $20,000 a year we pay to the temple, which, you know, they've been very generous in giving us the space, not raising our rent. But again, it's money that we could be putting towards something which will have multiple uses. And I think for the most part, during the day, particularly during the school year, say from 9 to 3, the seniors will be the primary users.
Right.
And, you know, maybe some moms groups or things with young kids they might be able to do. So I think that, you know, seniors will certainly have their share, more than their fair share of accessibility and use to the building.
I think if you call it senior center, that will push away the people who do not want to go to school.
Yeah,
There
it's
are
always,
many people, including myself, who do not want to go to school.
Mayor, I'd just like to explain the genesis of this description. This comes from me, it has to be attributed to me. Early on, we were talking about the very first ordinance in 2013 or 14. I think I directed bond counsel to describe it that way in the ordinance. And every now and then, when I have to describe it someplace, that name comes back to me. So it really, there's nothing that came from the council. It really can be attributed to me just trying to describe what we were talking about at the time. So I hope that
and also
helps
I think
clarify.
when the building was initially purchased, that was what was proffered as the reason it was going to be a senior center. So, but the other thing is, I also, you have to be wary about when you use the term community center, because that means different things to different people as well. A lot of people think of, you know, these large facilities that have gyms and all, and that's not what we're proposing. We certainly wouldn't be able to afford it or operate something like that. This is going to be a good space which will have big meeting rooms, as you can envision, smaller rooms, things like that.
I just don't want to see it.
It will,
People, because SCORE would like to have more people, they're always wanting more people, and
you know,
I don't want to see them.
no, I think at the end of the day, you know, however we name it, it may not even be called community center. It might be the Peggy White Center.
No,
Who
it
knows?
won't be that.
You know, or something to that effect.
God forbid.
No, but you know, I'm being a little facetious here, but no, but you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be.
And nobody will come.
So I think I understand your point, and you know, we usually don't refer to it
I
as
don't
the
want to see
seniors.
them lose out, because they're always looking for more people.
We want, obviously, I think I speak for everybody up here and the people who even aren't here. We're trying to generate, we all want, it's all been bipartisan. We're trying to build, you know, widespread support through the community by different groups, because
Right.
that's the way it's going to be successful.
It doesn't have to be a big building.
It'll be as big as we can afford, and it'll be big enough to meet our needs, I think. So that's the objective. And I think, you know, we're as close as we've ever been. And Alan has to see it before he retires, so.
I just would like to see the drawings when they become.
Sure, no, you certainly will be able to. Anybody else?
Just 'cause I don't know.
Oh, yes, sorry. Lou.
Bluegrass on 172 Lake Terrace. I think in what you were mentioning before about the sign ordinances, I think when the sign committee meets, the zoning ordinance should differentiate between Route 4 and the Kingdom Metro corridor definitely. The square footage maximums permitted of Kingdom Metro corridor are insufficient for Route 4.
I agree, and the other one, which I have seen ordinances, and, talk to Mr. Sorrell another time about it, about digital billboards, because it's still the bane of my existence that that transit let DOT put those 2 billboards in there right away in our borough, and we didn't know and had no say. And to me, those are distractions, to say the least, and I think it does partially hamper our ability to redevelop down there, because they're so pervasive and pretty intense. So things like that we have to look at, and he's absolutely right. So right now I think it makes exceptions for what they call shopping centers, and even that we've had issues with people having to get variances on those too. So it'll be a top to bottom review, and it'll probably address everything that we need in the different areas in town. Any more comments, questions? Motion to close, please.
So moved.
I failed to ask for a motion on Resolution 17338 to authorize the tax collector to cancel and refund 2017 taxes on a tax-exempt property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Andrew, any council comments? Ms. Sloan?
No, I mean, just to Peggy's comment, we will have the architect here, and we'll present it, and, so everybody can see it, and if they need to see it again, we'll do it again. But I think everybody's gonna, we'll project it up on the screen, and everybody will be able to see it. It'll, like I said, I'll speak with the liaisons for the constituent groups and see how they want to handle it. If they want me to just come to the meeting and discuss it, they want me and the architect, they just want the architect, whatever, so that we can hopefully get it done maybe by the end of the month, those meetings. So.
I was just going to mention about the local emergency management
Oh,
meeting.
okay, yeah, bring it up, yeah. Go ahead. Going to?
But the last time I brought something up, they said we don't do a work session.
No.
But we had a meeting the other day, and it was very well attended. I think there were only 2 people that were.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the
Very
degree
pleased.
of participation we've had
Yeah,
in this group.
and, even the religious organizations are reaching out to their people to see who's in need and to get the list. And I think I had the numbers.
Yes,
It was pretty interesting.
our coordinator, Strace, made the point that when we started, we were aware of what we called 6 at-risk residents, people who, may need help in an emergency. I think you said we're over 70 now?
Over 70, yeah.
Up to 70.
This time it's
And the whole issue with the whole Suez water shutdown actually was, it went into emergency management mode once we realized how many people were getting directly affected. And through those efforts, we were able to contact some people regarding the water shut-off. So it was, the basic mechanics were working. We put another appeal out to the religious leaders, and all the schools were there to, again, just once in a while, just reiterate, if you have a friend, neighbor, parent, whatever, they can call Arlene Faustini, the public health nurse. Everything's confidential. And just if they think there's somebody who might need some special attention, and especially if someone has something like they're on oxygen or other kind of electric dependent service for.
They also, the churches said that they were going to put on their websites about the Nixle sign-up,
Yes, I asked them to.
which I thought was
I
a great thing. So that
I asked all the
people-
groups now, and I'm hoping when you're getting the website done, but once we do, you know, I suggested to the groups that, you know, we all should be cross-linked,
Right.
so they can, so people don't know about NICS, so people don't know if they're on the reverse 911 list. So if we're all interlinked, at least then if one group has information, it'll get distributed that way, and I think that was a very good development.
Yeah, everybody was very open to it.
So, thank you for bringing that up, I had. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I was at the library board meeting the other day. A lot of things were discussed, and the library is doing great. But the Friends of the Library, members of the Friends of the Library came and were speaking to the point that their membership has dwindled greatly as of late. And they're getting to the point where they may no longer be able to do what they do. The Friends have contributed a lot to the library. They help fund many programs, buy equipment. For example, the large screen TV in the meeting room was paid for by the Friends of the Library. That's how they have their movie nights and so forth. I know my kids went this summer to the library to, you know, meet the ducks and all that, and that was all Friends. So to the extent that people here and listeners who may view this later have a little bit of extra time, are interested in volunteering. We're a volunteer-driven community, and I know that everybody seems stretched out, but certainly this is a worthy cause, and they could use everybody's help. Also, just wanted to point out that there's some, almost like every weekend, there's ongoings at historic Newbridge Landing. This weekend there's Harvest Homecoming. There's going to be pumpkin picking. There's lectures. Certainly encourage everybody to go and support that site. And lastly, just like everybody else, I was sad to hear about Crossing Guard Joe retiring. Of course, it's understandable, but he'll be greatly missed, and I just wanted to say thank you.
I'm sure as the time comes closer, we'll
Sure.
do many events in honor.
Of course.
And I think, you know, obviously this mayor council wants to do something special for him as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with no other comments, can I have a motion to suspend work session and go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going into closed session, I don't think we're going to be back in open after we're done. We'll see you on November the 6th.